prayer was, how he wanted his prayer. We see how King David wanted his prayer to be pleasing in the sight of God. He wanted his prayer to be as incense, a sweet-smelling aroma before God. And we also see the lives of Isaac, Elijah, and Daniel, how they prayed continually to God, how they prayed prayers that God listened and answered. David also asks 3 important things in the same psalm, and he says, "Set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. Do not incline my heart to any evil thing." So he talks about 3 important things: his lips, his mouth, and his heart. And these are the things that we need to ask God in our prayers. And this week we will read from Hosea chapter 6 verses 1 to 3. And these verses, as we read earlier, depict an earnest call to repentance, an earnest call to return to God. This is a call to the people of God, to the people who knew who God was, but now they have strayed away from God. These wandering people that are wandering away from the path of God, need to return to God. And this is the very state of most of the Christians in today's world. They know God and they have learned so many things about God, but they slowly turn away. They turn away from the path. They turn away from following the Lord. Their eyes are distracted to other things rather than focusing on God. Rather than having their faith in God and trust in God, they turn to different ways which seem right to them. And we may also have done the same thing in our lives. We may have fallen apart. We may have strayed away from the path, and God must have brought us back. And so many times we begin listening to others, to other people's voices, and what they say, what their opinions are, what they feel. And then we start relying on what we see and understand, on what we can make out from our own understanding. And because of this, there is a gradual deviation from the path of God, from the green pastures and the still waters. Just as the sheep which follow the shepherd, they stray away from the path. As long as they are under the care of the shepherd, they find green pastures and they are near still waters. They are satisfied. But after a moment, when they leave going after the shepherd, they don't know the correct way. They don't know which direction to follow. And we also do the same thing in our lives. We stray away from the path. We don't know which is the correct way. We don't know which direction to go. And we end up falling in thorns. We end up moving away from the path of God. We move to the path of thorns because we don't know. We don't follow the shepherd. So not only do we afflict ourselves, but we become the target of God's anger and judgment. In verse 1, we read in Hosea chapter 6, verse 1, "Come and let us return to the Lord, for he has torn us up." So in this first verse, we see the anger of God was poured upon them. God had torn them apart. And God is a God who restores. He is a God who specializes in restoration. Only when we are connected to God, we have true life. So many times we are fooled by